quiet gulf below, with an impenetrable darkness, in which the sound of the falling showers can be heard beginning and ceasing abruptly, now here, now there. Indeed, these cloudy nights are proverbial with the seamen along the whole west coast of a great continent. Sky, land, and sea disappear together out of the world when the Placido, as the saying is, goes to sleep under its black poncho. The few stars left below the seaward frown of the vault shine feebly as into the mouth of a black cavern. In its vastness, your ship floats unseen under your feet. Her sails flutter invisible above your head. The shores on the gulf are steep too all round. 3 uninhabited islets basking in the sunshine just outside the cloud veil, and opposite the entrance to the harbor of Sulaco, bear the name of the Isabels. There is the Great Isabel, the Little Isabel, which is round, and Hermosa, which is the smallest. That last is no more than a foot high and about 7 paces across, a mere flat top of a grey rock which smokes like a hot cinder after a shower, and where no man would care to venture a naked soul before sunset. On the Little Isabel, an old ragged palm with a thick bulging trunk, rough with spines, a very witch among palm trees, rustles a dismal bunch of dead leaves above the coarse sand. The Great Isabel has a spring of fresh water issuing from the overgrown side of a ravine. Resembling an emerald-green wedge of land a mile long and laid flat upon the sea, it bears 2 forest trees standing close together with a wide spread of shade at the foot of their smooth trunks. A ravine extending the whole length of the island is full of bushes, and presenting a deep, tangled cleft on the high side, spreads itself out on the other into a shallow depression, abutting on a small strip of sandy shore. From that low end of the Great Isabel, the eye plunges through an opening 2 miles away, as abrupt as if chopped with an axe out of the regular sweep of the coast, right into the harbor of Sulaco. It is an oblong, lake-like piece of water. On one side, the short wooded spurs and valleys of the Cordillera come down at right angles to the very strand. On the other, the open view of the great Sulaco plain passes into the opal mystery of great distances overhung by dry haze. The town of Sulaco itself, tops of walls, a great cupola, gleams of white miradors in a vast grove of orange trees, lies between the mountains and the plain, at some little distance from its harbor, and out of the direct line of sight from the sea. The only sign of commercial activity within the harbor, visible from the beach of the Great Isabel, is the square, blunt end of the wooden jetty, which the Oceanic Steam Navigation Company had thrown over the shallow part of the bay soon after they had resolved to make of Sulaco one of their ports of call for the Republic of Costaguana. The state possesses several harbors on its long seaboard, but except Queta, an important place, all are either small and inconvenient inlets in an iron-bound coast, like Esmeralda, for instance, 60 miles to the south, or else mere open roadsteads exposed to the winds and fretted by the surf. Perhaps the very atmospheric conditions which had kept away the merchant fleets of bygone ages induced the company to violate the sanctuary of peace sheltering the calm existence of Sulaco. The variable airs sporting lightly with the vast semicircle of waters within the head of Azuera could not baffle the steam power of their excellent fleet. Year after year, the black hulls of their ships had gone up and down the coast, in and out, past Azuera, past the Isabels, past Punta Mala, disregarding everything but the tyranny of time. And as they seldom failed to account for the smallest package, rarely lost a bullock, and had never drowned a single passenger, the name of the company stood very high for trustworthiness. People declared that under the company's care their lives and property were safer on the water than in their own houses on shore. The company's superintendent in Sulaco for the whole Costaguana section of the service was very proud of his company's standing. He resumed it in a saying which was very often on his lips. We never make mistakes. To the company's officers, it took the form of a severe injunction. We must make no mistakes. I'll have no mistakes here. Our excellent Senor Mitchell, for the business and official word of Sulaco, Fussy Joe for the commanders of the company's ships, Captain Joseph Mitchell prided himself on his profound knowledge of men and things in the country. Among these last, he accounted as most unfavorable to the orderly working of his company the frequent changes of government brought about by revolutions of the military type. The political atmosphere of the Republic was generally stormy in these days. The fugitive patriots of the defeated party had the knack of turning up again on the coast with half a steamer's load of small arms and ammunition. Such resourcefulness Captain Mitchell considered as perfectly wonderful in view of their utter destitution at the time of the flight. He had observed that they had never seemed to have enough change about them to pay for their passage ticket out of the country. And he could speak with knowledge, for on a memorable occasion he had been called upon to save the life of a dictator, together with the lives of a few Sulaco officials belonging to an overturned government. Poor Senor Ribiera, such was the dictator's name, had come pelting 80 miles over mountain tracks after the lost battle of Socorro, in the hope of outdistancing the fatal news, which, of course, he could not manage to do on a lame mule. The animal, moreover, expired under him at the end of the Alameda, where the military band plays sometimes in the evenings between the revolutions. Sir, Captain Mitchell would pursue with portentous gravity, the ill-timed end of that mule attracted attention to the unfortunate rider. His features were recognized by several deserters from the dictatorial army. Early on the morning of that day, the local authorities of Sulaco had fled for refuge to the company's offices, a strong building near the shore end of the jetty, leaving the town to the mercies of a revolutionary rabble. And, as the dictator was extricated by the populace on account of the severe recruitment law, his necessities had compelled him to enforce during the struggle, he stood a good chance of being torn to pieces. Providentially, Nostromo, invaluable fellow, with some Italian workmen imported to work upon the National Central Railway, was at hand, and managed to snatch him away, for the time at least. Ultimately, Captain Mitchell succeeded in taking everybody off in his own gig to one of the company's steamers. It was the Minerva, just then, as luck would have it, entering the harbour. He had to lure these gentlemen at the end of a rope out of a hole in the wall at the back, while the mob, which, pouring out of the town, had spread itself all along the shore, howled and foamed at the foot of the building in front. He had to hurry them then the whole length of the jetty. It had been a desperate dash, neck or nothing, and again it was Nostromo, a fellow in 1,000, who at the head this time of the company's body of lighter men, held the jetty against the rushes of the rabble, thus giving the fugitives time to reach the gig lying ready for them at the other end, with the company's flag at the stern. Sticks, stones, shots flew. Knives, too, were thrown. Captain Mitchell was a thick, elderly man wearing high, pointed collars and short side whiskers, partial to white waistcoats, and really very communicative under his air of pompous reserve. "These gentlemen," he would say, staring with great solemnity, "had to run like rabbits, sir. I ran like a rabbit myself. Certain forms of death are distasteful to a respectable man. They would have pounded me to death, too. A crazy mobster does not discriminate. Under Providence, we owed our preservation to my Capataz de Cacadores, as they called him in the town. A man who, when I discovered his value, sir, was just the boatswain of an Italian ship. A big Genoese ship, one of the few European ships that ever came to Sulaco with a general cargo before the building of the National Central. He left her on account of some very respectable friends he made here, his own countrymen, but also, I suppose, to better himself. So, I am a pretty good judge of character. I engaged him to be the foreman of our lighter men and caretaker of our jetty. That's all that he was, but without him, Senor Ribiera would have been a dead man. This Nostromo, sir, a man absolutely above reproach, became the terror of all the thieves in the town. We were infested here at that time by thieves and murderers from the